Chapter 8. Fraser's phone dragged her from sleep. Why she had chosen Scotland the Brave as her ringtone was anyone's guess. Only now that she came to think of it, it had been her niece's choice, not hers, and she hadn't bothered to change it. Resisting reality, she dragged the duvet more tightly around her head and hunkered down. The phone stopped. Her brain jolted as it rang again, louder this time. Peeling her eyelids apart, she reached blindly for it and held it to her ear, forcing out a groggy, "Hello?" DCI Pitbull's voice, unnecessarily vigorous, surged into her ear.
"Morning, Fraser. One too many last night, was it?"
She rubbed her eyes and checked her Garmin watch. "Do you know what time it is, sir?" Even the Pitbull surely would know that 7 a.m. on a weekend was too early for a work call.
"If you're going to leave me messages late at night, you're going to have to put up with phone calls from me early in the morning."
"Are you always up this early, sir?"
"Since I've been on the wagon, which is precisely 37 days, my body seems to think it doesn't need sleep anymore. Pain in the arse, in all honesty, but what is it they say? Best part of the day, and if I'm up working, I see no reason you shouldn't be."
Fraser yawned and hauled herself upright. "Next time give me a 5-minute warning and I'll get a coffee. You'll get more sense out of me." Her niece had sent her a gift once, which showed a bear with a slot for a coin in its head and the phrase, "Insert coffee to start." It encapsulated her mornings.
"Get one yourself now and call me back. 5 minutes, Fraser."
"Anything you say, sir," she muttered once she'd ended the call. No one had the right to be so energetic in the morning. In the kitchen, next door's ginger cat wove around her legs, mewing and entirely convinced Fraser would feed him. She'd made a point of not doing so, but however little she encouraged him, he seemed to think that her house was as much his as the one next door, and freely used the cat flap in her back door. Not that she minded. She liked the company, had even had her own cats once upon a time in London and missed something warm to come home to. It seemed unfair with the hours she worked to have one now that she lived alone, but she was very happy to share so long as her neighbours didn't mind. Mr. Next Door had said it was fine with them, and he reckoned the cat was seeking sanctuary from the racket the kids made. She heated the water in the kettle before filling the Bialetti jug, a little smaller but otherwise identical to the one in Marianne Leonard's kitchen, to meet the Pitbull's deadline. While she waited for the jug to gurgle, filling the kitchen with the aroma of an Italian coffee house, she picked up the cat and wandered to the bifold doors. She pushed them open, admitting the river's faint, loamy odour. Dappled sunlight fell across the small, square lawn, and she thought again that she really ought to get some pots with flowers to brighten things up. Green hedges, green trees at the back, and a green lawn, lush after a rainy July. On the dot of 5 minutes, she called the DCI back and propped herself full length on her sofa, the cat stretched out on her legs. The coffee was too hot to drink, but she'd added a little cold water and taken a scalding sip to bump-start her brain. The DCI was still feeling boisterous and teased her again about hangovers. She seldom drank, apart from socially, and then mainly to get through the small talk. After collating the statements, she had stayed up late playing Farming Simulator on her computer, her brain too active for sleep, comforting herself that, with Saturday, she could give herself a lie-in.
"So," Pitbull said, "this head teacher, Mona what's her name, a coincidence?"
"I'm not sure I believe in coincidences where murder investigations are concerned, sir."
"No, me neither. How'd you read it then? She was on her way to see this head teacher woman, knowing she was staying at the bunkhouse."
"Well, and not knowing she'd cancelled, presumably," Fraser said. "The schools have only just broken up, haven't they?"
"First week," Pitbull said. "My two are home, bored already, and there are 5 weeks to go. Maybe the head teacher fancied getting away at the start of the holidays and then cancelled last minute. I'm going to call her at 9.
Fraser wondered he didn't leave calls like that to Chowdhury or someone else on his team. But maybe he needed something to keep him occupied, or he missed the nitty-gritty of detective work now that he spent most of his time managing budgets.
"That reminds me," he said. "That woman at the centre, the baking woman, one who found the body."
"Marianne Leonard?"
"That's the one. I thought she looked familiar yesterday, but I couldn't place her."
"And?" Fraser said.
Pitbull said. I recognise her from meetings. Not recently. Few years ago, last time I tried to knock it on the head. I used to live over that way near Ludlow. Never knew her name, I don't think, or spoke to her, but I'm sure it was her. Quiet. Kept herself to herself.
Just as the farmer had said about her. A thought struck Fraser. Shouldn't that be confidential, sir? Her being at an AA meeting, I mean.
I'm not a bloody priest, Fraser, said Pitbull, or a doctor or whatever. If a suspect in a murder investigation used to be an AA, then that's useful. All background helps, whether it rules someone in or out. That's what my lot are going to be doing with their day. Background. Every single one of those walkers and archaeologists.
You have Miss Leonard down as a suspect, then?
She found the body, didn't she?
In the background, Fraser heard the click of a lighter being fired and a long, ecstatic inhalation.
The girl was on her way to that place. Maybe got as far as the woman's house. They're all suspects until we've ruled them out. We need to establish connections. What about the other locals? The farmer? The one who called it in?
Fraser gave him a précis. From what she'd seen, Steve Olsen and his wife were mainly concerned with their sheep and the vegetable business. By reporting the girl in distress and the abandoned car, they had been trying to be good citizens, but their interest went no further. Their labourer, who'd seen first the couple arguing and then the girl's flight, had no connection with the girl. He was early 50s, shepherded for the Olsens and had lived in the area all his life. It would have surprised Fraser if he'd even been as far as Birmingham. And the lad in the village shop who'd reported a possible sighting of the man with Anna had been next to no use.
He remains a key target,
Pitbull said, and Fraser frowned before realising that he meant the young man with whom Anna Price had been seen arguing, rather than the lad from the village shop. It was possible the young man was her boyfriend, but he could just as easily be her brother, or even her father. Outside a couple, arguments as fierce as that witnessed by Marianne Leonard on Titterston Clee were usually family.
Any news on the car, sir? Nothing yet. Chowdhury's working on it today.
You don't think we should extend the search of the hill, sir? She phrased it carefully, not wanting to be seen to be encroaching on his territory. He'd be well aware that she'd run murder investigations with the Met. It seems odd that they should both abandon the car and disappear. Anna's turned up, he hasn't. Pitbull sighed and cleared his throat with a rumble.
I get your point. There's been no sightings on the hill and the search team's turned up nothing. It'd be like the proverbial needle in a haystack, wouldn't it?
He coughed again.
We'll save our budget for what's necessary. So far, no one's reported him missing. My hunch is he knows full well what's happened to her, and he's doing his best not to be found.
By the time Pitbull called again, she had eaten a banana, been for a run, and showered. She was in the bathroom, preferring to dress there and avoid the full-length mirrored doors of the wardrobes in her bedroom. Since her surgery, she was much more comfortable with her body, and could at least wear any clothes that she chose without feeling self-conscious. But mirrors, so long avoided, remained a challenge. It was easier to feel like Taylor Swift wafting across a stage when she didn't have to catch sight of herself.
So, I've spoken to the head teacher, Mona What's-her-face,
Pitbull said, his mouth full. Fraser wondered if he was having lunch already, given how early he'd started work. I hope you didn't call her that, she said, before reflecting that she should have kept the words in her head.
I was on my best behaviour. She was all right, actually. Scary. You can imagine she wouldn't take any shit off any of the kids. Didn't take any off me either, he added with a laugh.
And the booking at the bunkhouse? Did she say why she'd cancelled?
She didn't cancel it because she didn't make it.
He adopted a high, imperious tone.
I can assure you, DCI Pickthall, that there was no booking. I've never even heard of the place.
Fraser took a moment to digest that. Marianne Leonard had no reason to lie about the name of the booking, and it was hardly a name that one would make up on the spur of the moment. Besides, she could always ask to see the reservations and check, so lying would be pointless. Could Anna Price have made the booking in the head teacher's name, needing to be anonymous? Perhaps she had chosen the first name that came to her. But if she'd made a booking for two, who was her companion to have been? The putative boyfriend? And why had she cancelled it?
I've said you'll call her when she's got into her office and pulled Anna's personnel file. She confirmed Anna's ID from the photo, but we'll have to get it done formally, of course. In the absence of anyone else, she's agreed to do it this afternoon.
Are there no family nearby?
No family at all, according to the Balbriggan woman. I'll let her fill you in. Anyway, give her half an hour and then call her. I'll text you the number and you can call me when you've spoken to her.
A hint of awkwardness came into his voice.
Leave a message if I don't answer.
Fraser said nothing and Pitbull went on as though he felt an explanation was necessary.
My youngest has swim class, and my missus reckons I should go too. Help to shift some pounds.
He sighed heavily. Well, you enjoy yourself, boss, Fraser said. Do a few lengths for me. The DCI hung up the phone with a barely disguised growl. If finding out Anna's name had opened one door into the investigation, her phone call with Mona Balbriggan opened several more. Anna had joined the school straight after her teacher training degree, bright, bubbly, and ready for anything. A sad backstory, though, the head teacher said. Do you know about her family circumstances? At the moment, we know almost nothing about her, Fraser said, so anything that you can tell me will be useful. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 19, while she was at university, and after that she found out she was adopted. I got the impression it didn't bother her. I remember she mentioned it in her interview. But about a year ago she decided to trace her birth mother. Without wishing to be unkind, it seems she became, well, obsessed. Couldn't she trace her through the adoption agency? Apparently there was some mystery. The birth mother had disappeared, changed her name, I believe. Anna gave up, but it left her quite depressed. You must understand, I heard none of this from Anna. In the past few months, her friend, our Year 1 teacher Sally Parker, has been quite worried about her. While Mona Balbriggan talked, Fraser had been making herself another coffee, and now she risked a brief spurt of the milk frother, moving away so that the noise wouldn't deafen her. What was worrying her? Anna had become very withdrawn, secretive, lost a lot of weight. Sally thought there was boyfriend trouble, possibly an abusive relationship of the coercive control type. Anna insisted she was fine. It was a textbook situation, a victim insisting all was well while friends and family knew there was something up. Nothing they could put their finger on necessarily, but an instinct, an uncomfortable feeling. And after the crisis of failing to find her birth mother, she would be vulnerable, needing the security of a relationship. I think the two of them fell out over it. Sally was very upset, Mona Balbriggan said. Fraser added the frothed milk to the coffee and shook some powdered chocolate onto it. She took a sip. Sally Parker would need following up, as might other colleagues at the school. If any of them knew the identity of the boyfriend, they might match him up with the owner of the car. She had no family at all? She asked. No siblings? There was an aunt through the adoption, I believe, listed as next of kin. I've sent the details to your DCI. Fraser sipped more coffee and allowed her brain to freewheel. This part of an investigation always gave her a kick. Starting from nothing and piecing together tiny fragments, like doing a complex 1,000-piece jigsaw. More often than not, you put a piece in the wrong place and only found it when you hit a brick wall and nothing could progress. Then, identifying that mistake could lead to several swift solutions, pieces coalescing to build a picture more wonderful than the box had led you to believe. Only this wasn't her investigation. It was Pitbull's. And if she didn't play her cards right, she might find herself back on the spate of horsebox thefts currently plaguing local livery yards, along with a sergeant from her team. The head teacher's voice interrupted her thoughts. There's something else in her file that I think might be important. Fraser's heart was still beating a little too fast when she called Pitbull. He sounded less grumpy after his swim, but she heard the unmistakable flare of his lighter and a deep inhalation as he answered. Interesting, he said once she'd told him about the best friend's concerns. You haven't heard the best bit yet, sir, she said. It turns out that Anna was into archaeology. Went to a talk about these Iron Age digs last year at the National Trust place. She was so inspired, she even got one of the archaeologists in to do a talk for her class. Set up an archaeology club at the school.
Now that really is interesting. Slipped their minds, did it? Pitbull said. You're sure none of them admitted to recognising her?
You've seen the statements, sir. There was a long exhalation. She imagined him blowing the smoke out through his nostrils like a dragon, as he had on the hill up by the Devil's Pool. Surely he was going to follow it up. Is there anything else you'd want me to do today then, sir? She prompted. If you need another pair of hands on your background checks, maybe.
Nothing so dull for you, Fraser. I told you. Your job's liaison, and right now I have some liaising for you to do. You need to get yourself back to that bunkhouse.
Through the open back doors, Fraser watched the cat. He had been washing himself in the garden, and after a sinuous stretch, he skittered across the lawn in pursuit of a leaf, tossed it in the air and rolled on his back in a slanting beam of sun. A picture of excited happiness. And who am I liaising with? She asked.
Catch up with those archaeologists. If we're in luck, it'll be that smug Irish bastard from the TV, said Pitbull. Whoever it was, there's a good few of them up there that should have recognised her, and someone's being economical with the truth. I want you to find out why.